He's laughing, I see.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Welcome back, guys. I hope we've all had a great long weekend, feeling nice, recharged. Maybe you spent time with your family, spent time outside, whatever you needed to do to get your mind off of markets. But rest assured, as you are back, we are as well. We're going to be talking about all things markets, where they're headed. We've got an interesting slate of events occurring this week, as always. But first, I'm Tommy. You guys also know me as Snorlax. I'm joined by Max, Prometheus, and of course, Chef Jackus. Welcome to you guys as well. Before we can get started on the show, talking about markets, and maybe we even talk about what we did this weekend as well. Sometimes the audience likes the personal aspects of the show. Sometimes they want us to get right to the point. But before we can do that, either way, I'm going to ask if you guys can smash, destroy, slam, annihilate, whatever verb or adjective you need to use to hit the like button. We are always very appreciative when you do that. And of course, you help us keep the lights on here at BB so we can continue to bring, you guys this content. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's talk about the markets and, just kind of everything that's been going on over the long weekend, obviously continuing over last week. We've got this whole James Wynn saga. We're throwing in the Bitcoin conference as a wild card here as well. Meanwhile, you have Bitcoin, kind of teeing up the highs again. Are we going to go for them early this week? Are we going into price discovery this week? Are we going to get a pullback? Like I said, these are going to be things that we discuss on today's show. ETH coming back into the highs once again towards 2,700. So really kind of the same picture with Bitcoin and ETH. Both are really teasing a potential next leg higher, but running into some resistance here at the highs. Altcoins are very much in purgatory until Bitcoin and ETH make some decisions. But we are seeing, I think, some outsized strength from things like the Hyperliquid ecosystem and coins within that. But yeah, I mean, equity markets up 1.5% to 2%. The VIX down 5 to 6%. We've been kind of wondering if we'd get any sort of snapback higher in volatility. Thus far, it has not happened. The equity market has been very strong. And one of the things that we've talked about is, if this behavior continues into the summer, we're probably going to have a pretty boring summer for equities, which is I think a bullish catalyst ultimately for crypto. But that's something that we'll talk about on this show as well. But I think I mentioned it already. Maybe I didn't. We also have NVIDIA earnings this week, I believe. So that could cause some volatility in equities. And yeah, I'm sure probably some macro data coming in here too. But how are we doing, guys? What are we seeing in the markets? What are our first thoughts about how this weekly candle is opening? And yeah, I mean, how was everybody's long weekend?
I'm doing totally unbothered, moisturized, happy, flourishing in my own lane. Yeah, I mean, it's been great weekend, prolonged, but the markets are markets. So not gonna lie, I checked it a few times here and there, found some new stuff to use, and yeah, still seeing things being really good on the overall. I think this is going to be a insanely bullish year for crypto, and I feel it coming from everywhere. Besant saying that 2 trillion to be added to US bonds through stable coins, I think, or something like that. Insanely bullish on digital assets. Trump putting in a 2.5 billion Bitcoin reserve. It's amazing day. Bitcoin wells keep on adding. ETH wells adding as well now. Life's good. Keep the eyes on the forest. Sometimes look at the tree. but don't lose the sight of the forest.
Yeah, well said, Jackus. I completely agree. We're just kind of stuck in this little chop solidation, Bitcoin grinding into the highs. I don't view it as anything that's bearish or any like major cause for concern. I think it's just a be patient and wait type of situation. Either we're going to get a little flush down. I don't even think it would be that bad, or we're just going to move higher. I guess the only thing that's throwing me off ultra locally is like it's the Bitcoin conference like now, basically through like the first part of this week, which, you know, I guess probably has more to do with like where the market is at and positioning than it does anything else. So I just look at this profile and I say to myself, all right, you know, we're probably doing something like this right here where, you know, this is your previous all-time high supply. You're above your value area. You know, this one actually kind of went back into value, hit that point of control and like kind of your little 12-hour uptrend here. I think we're doing something similar. This feels like a much steeper, more aggressive version of that. I mean, we're basically chewed through the all-time high supply and we're just waiting for like the breakaway candle. So I don't know. I mean, there was a guy on our team who was supposed to tweet something out like this so I could retweet it all to you guys, and then I didn't see it. So it must I got to check Twitter. Twitter must have been down on the weekend because there's no way he didn't tweet it. It was such a great fractal, but something like this, guys, kind of looks similar. No? I mean, it looks, I don't mean to steal fractals, but I'll only give you so much time before I just copy it myself. But kind of feels something like this, and we're just waiting for the meat stick. You know, I don't think you stop at 115, 118. I think when you finally gap, you're going to go. I think you're going to go. I really do. Looking at every major VWAP, I mean, you're above every important VWAP that I watch. Your monthly, 6 month, 2 month, 3 month, yearly, you're grinding into your highs. Begs the question, what are we even talking about here? You know, like what about this profile? What about this profile is risk off? I don't see anything about it being risk off. So I think we're doing something like this. I think we're doing a more dramatic, a steeper, you know, more intense and hopefully more lucrative version of this. And we're probably just going to pop, you know, and I mean, maybe it happens on the calendar rollover from May to June. So maybe we have to wait another, you know, little less than a week. Maybe we go today or tomorrow. I don't know, right? It could be for any reason, but like I have no interest in fading the strength. Like I always give this analogy, and maybe it's a little bit silly, but it's like I don't know exactly where the market's going to go. It's not my job to like say exactly where it's going to go. I just know that it's time to be long and just see what the market gives, right? My bias and my positioning is heavily skewed to the upside. Shocker. And if the market goes to 150 from here, great. The market gave me an awesome move. If the market only goes to 120 here, still a great move. I was long for it, right? I was long for it. But I know it's time to be long. And I'm just going to ride this wherever it may go, right? I just know it's time to be long. And we'll see. And I think, you know, your worst case would be a shakeout to your 30-day rolling VWAP, which is like right now 103-ish. I don't really see that level giving. But, you know, you can see over here, if we're looking at this fractal, which, by the way, is very similar, you know, right before the big move, we had a drop to our 30-day rolling. Maybe we get it. Maybe we don't. But I'm long, you know, and I'm waiting for higher. So.
Yeah,
it's
things
a
look
great fractal. Whoever put that together must be super based.
Yeah, he is. He just did. He said he was going to tweet it out and then he didn't. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe Twitter was down. There's no way he said he was going to do it and then didn't do it. There's no way. It's impossible. But yeah, I mean, whoever was the original designer or architect of this fractal, I mean, he deserves a lot of credit, right? Not enough credit to actually tweet it out and get the credit, but he deserves some credit. So, but here's the good news: is it's never too late to tweet out a fractal. That's the thing. It's never too late.
Yeah, I think constructively things look super, super good here. I mean, across the board, things are pressing up in all-time highs. Large points of interest across the board on not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum and Solana as well. And in regards to the Bitcoin conference, if we remember last Bitcoin conference, going into it, everybody was talking about the strategic Bitcoin reserve being announced and Donald Trump mentioning, woes about that. But then a lot of the air was kind of let out of it because of the, lack of, we'll just call it points being talked about in regards to the reserve itself. And because that it really turned into a sell the news event where we're going into this conference, I think on a completely different footing. Nobody's talking about these potential bullish catalysts being talked about. There's no real, hype around the conference in regards to something being announced or yada yada. And because that, I think from a positioning standpoint, we're very much on the opposite end of the spectrum in regards to sentiment pertaining to the conference itself. And because of that, we're hearing a lot of things on the timeline in regards to, sell-offs around the conference. You should sell the conference. People have to pay off their credit cards, too much clubs, too many bottle services, yada, yada, yada. But what nobody's talking about, right, is what could potentially come of it. A surprise catalyst or surprise bullish catalyst out of the conference itself could really catch a lot of positioning off sides. And if you look on the lower time frame from a liquidation standpoint, people are really eager to short the highest weekly Bitcoin close ever. And to me, I'm shocked. I'm like, how could you be? I get structurally looking for a pullback here, but being so eager to short the highest weekly Bitcoin close to me is just, I mean, in what world? In what world are you willing to just dive into shorts here at the highs?
Takes a certain type of individual to want to do that, Prometheus. It certainly does. I mean, that's a strong chart. I mean, one thing we talked about last week was this idea of 8 weekly, green candles in a row, kind of being the most we've seen in a while. We can count them out here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was red, but kind of just got sucked right back up. Had some over here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, little red, then keep going. But yeah, I mean, kind of might be, maybe we're due for a tiny cool off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, cool off, then up. I don't know. I'm not going to base my entire thesis off of how many weeklies we've had in a row that are, that are green. But I mean, it looks strong, man. I don't what if we just go? What if we just do it? That's so strong. So strong.
I was talking with Tommy about it before the show got started, and I'm kind of looking at it as from a time-based perspective. I think for trend continuation, you definitely want to see that pop higher, confirmed breakout expansion to the upside. I'm targeting 120 to 130 based off of the 1618s pulled from the weekly and the daily. But if you're unable to really have that expansionary move this week or next, then I could definitely see some structural retest, a little bit of pullback, backfill some liquidity potentially. And then it maybe, that next move higher getting pushed out or delayed a little bit, but trend is higher. The trend is higher. And regardless of what camp you're in, pullbacks are forbidding and the spot bags I'm in, I'm in them for a reason. I think they're going much, much, much higher. Regardless of what we see on the lower time frames.
This is what's throwing me off about a big pullback on ETH. And I know we're up quite a bit off the low. But I'm like, this trend line here is, I wouldn't write this thing off. I mean, it was clearly very significant for a long time. And we just reclaimed it. And it's like, I almost feel like you're going to fill in this CME gap that goes like up to here. And then you'll get, you know, the pullback. It'll be like this. And then, oh, I'm not bidding this. I'm not bidding this. We're going to go back down here, you know, and then they're going to be forced to buy it, you know, what, 15% higher than here on a dip after, you know, 3,400 down to 2,900. And then we probably just ripped to like 4K and above. You know what I mean? But this trend line, like the gray cloud trend line that I have there, I mean, why would we lose this again? Why would we come down here? You know, I don't know if I agree with that. That doesn't seem super probable to me. But I'm open to hearing what you guys think about it. Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, one, do we think that this trend line deserves respect? Two, if you are in the camp that we dip down into this like inefficient zone right here, does this trend line change that at all for you? You know, because for me, I'm like, it looks like we just reclaimed this, and this is a massive deviation, and it looks like a launch pad. Like, I flipped this thing, and it looks like, oh man, failed breakout with like the worst type of, you know, like rejection, underside retest. You know what I mean? But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. You know, I've shared mine.
I think we'll make an attempt to, you know, break out further later this week. I mean, I think I'm kind of conflicted because Bitcoin structurally looks absolutely amazing. And like it's going to go into price discovery. I think I'm a little bit more uncertain when I look at things like Ethereum and Solana, which makes sense, right? Because we're seeing that, I think, natural liquidity drainage from those two assets and pretty much all coins, while Bitcoin tries to go into price discovery. So again, I do think we're going to make an attempt to, you know, break out further this week, but I have a lot more faith and confidence that Bitcoin can actually do it versus things like ETH and Sol, which I could see something like ETH pull down into like 2,200, 2,250 before you actually lift off. But I don't really expect like a super deep pullback at this point, given the strength that these assets have already shown. I think, you know, if you're looking for weakness, you're probably most likely to find it from an asset like Solana, which, you know, looks weak against BTC and Ethereum right now.
Yeah, you don't like that. You don't like that Sol ETH pair, do you, Tommy?
No, I don't.
One chart to tackle that.
He Tommied me. He Tommied me. That's crazy. Straight up Tommy, a vicious Tommy. Early.
You didn't say that. You just do it.
I know. It was. I respect that, man. You just did it. It was a perfectly executed Tommy, is what that was. Nice.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Tommy just laughing out there in the silence. Just like, whatever. One chart to sort of discuss that. Let me put it like this. Wait, I might have to do it like this.
Why, you're telling me an AI chart looks as good as Fetch, and there's an AI dog coin on Ethereum that you can still buy at ridiculous valuations and threatening a 2-year breakout? That's crazy.
Wait, what?
We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about that later.
One thing that, you know, I'm not sure how you were drawing it. I think it was more like, wait, I'm confused now. Oh, it was like this, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we gotta put more like a weekly. I think this is totally normal, and I don't think it changes anything from, you know, just for the argument's sake. I think it's incredibly bullish. So again, this is inverted ETH, right? I think this is incredibly bullish, and I think we are going to smash through 4K probably later this year. this reclaim, just like I thought that fetch is bearish here and that it's going lower, and I was even lifetime here describing that it can have this type of pump and then sell further. I think ETH in this inverse situation is basically, it's not the same time frame at all, but the premise is still the same. You simply have it's probably not trying to, again, it's two very different time frames, right? But I hope you sort of are able to see it where like you get that trend, you then get the deviation, which is right here, and then you get the reclaim. I think we are at this point right here, and you can very easily get and I would just keep in mind this trend line, right? I will have to zoom in a little bit to make this cluster a bit more appealing. But
I see the little pop there.
Yeah,
that thing. Yeah.
You kind of get this type of big impulsive move, right? That's this one, and then you get a little range, right? This is where like people want to really panic FOMO sell. You instant pump it and make everyone think that we are so back. So in this case, and there are lots of variations of this where like this can sweep the low. It doesn't matter, but you can very easily have this type of pump. It makes lots of people in this inverse scenario bullish again, and then you kind of drop it lower and you kind of continue higher up. So I think this is very normal. I do not think it changes anything. I think it doesn't have to happen. I think there is a good probability for it from my point of view, but the forest is exactly this trend line. The trend line says that we are very much, and I'll flip back. The reclaim of this uptrend, even if you see this type of drop, doesn't change anything. It's very bullish, and we should be coming to 4K probably in Q3, I would say, and then Q4 you're really looking for the breakout. So
Best I can do is June 1st, Jack. That's the best I can do.
Hey, July is Q3.
True.
Do I look like a
True.
guy that can wait till July? I've only been waiting for like 3 years. So
Literally. So kind of like this.
it's a good fractal. It's definitely a good fractal.
Yeah, it's pretty clean. It's really clean.
Thank you. I think I could find better one on larger time frame, but I think the premise stays the same. At the end of the day, everyone needs to be ready for if it doesn't happen too, and again and play the forest, right? And to play the forest here can mean that you will remain long through this dip, or you will wait for it but expect the upside later on. That's the main game you want to be playing. You do not want to really be the guy who is waiting for this retest or for a bear market to come from here. Right now, at least, in my opinion, that's not, you are in a lower probability sector.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you kind of have to be prepared for both. There's plenty of fractals that we could point to that just because, Jack, I know you were initially comparing the ETH setup to inverse DXY.
Yeah.
Which I don't think gave that same pullback that you're showing here. I think both.
Yeah, but you cannot take it like 1-to-1 in terms of local movements.
No, I've already accepted it as 1-to-1 though. I've already done that. I can't walk it back now.
In that way, print it. Print it into reality.
Man, just want to have some fun. I want to be bullish with my boys higher.
since I'm on the chart, let me show you how to do the inverted fractal. So first, you take
DXY
the
looks
DXY.
fried, man. Fried. Wow.
Sorry, who's fried?
The dollar. The
Dollar's
dollar
fried. Yeah.
index. It's
Yeah,
horrible.
I wouldn't want to be bullish here.
No.
I always say, I think the big catch here for lots of people, what would have helped is do this, by the way. Let me save this because lately I do it more often. If you think of it in terms of this, then we've really been in a bear market since 2021, and we didn't hit the bottom until, why does it keep on flashing? Oh, because I put my cross on the price way. No, I have it right. Anyways,
You have it right. When you hover over it, it brings it to the front.
Yeah, that's stupid, but yeah. So I think we were, like bearish for the market for alts this entire time, but I think this was the cycle top and it changes things. So in that sense, now going back to make this fractal, right? Let's examine. You take this, and we're gonna do a little voodoo on it, but you invert it. You place ease on top of it. It will obviously not fit, and it will look like it's vice versa. It will look more like this is fitting, but that's not the reality. You gotta invert this one, right? And then we are going to make a screenshot here.
That CME gap needs to be filled, Chef. Needs to be filled.
Actually, let me. Yeah, that will. That's a matter of time.
It's destiny.
It's destiny. Let's do it like this. All right, this one will do. Now I'll take a screenshot here. Now you won't see it, but I'll do it in the background. Okay, this one shall do, because I cannot do it in trading view. And what I just did was that I just took this fractal or the price of DXY, and I just postponed it to the right. So this is the one. I just took it and moved it to the right. I unfortunately cannot do it like I cannot do it, but if you took this price action and just moved it to the right like this, so like grab it to the right, this would come out. So let me delete this one. And we would get a, let's move this one backward. And then you would get entirely this. And so, yeah, maybe, maybe we are right here. And then, and then this is next. But I rather tend to think that time-wise we are more like here. That's kind of fitting too. And so we are yet awaiting this bigger move, sort of. But again,
That's kind of what I was thinking too, Jack, is because I was looking at your comparison of these two a lot over the last week.
Yeah. What did you find out, Tommy?
I mean, I think it's, it's an interesting question, right? Like, are we closer to the, the higher consolidation or the lower consolidation? And I think you can make a pretty good argument for either one, but it probably comes down to Bitcoin. I don't know what to expect from Bitcoin up here, Jackus. I feel like I have a pretty good read of ETH, but Bitcoin is a little bit more unpredictable.
The way I see it, Tommy, is that to me it is irrelevant whether we are here or here. Just like here, you already had a DXY that was moving, and obviously it's inverted on the screen, so it was moving down. And look what ETH was doing during that time. It was just going sideways. We had this eternal range down here, and then we had a very quick break to the upside. So it lined up pretty well. And so when you zoom out, you see it. But if you look on the trees, you don't. And I think this is the same. Therefore, I think ETH here can just as easily drop and then go higher just as it can continue. But I view it as we are in the middle of here, wherever you want to say we are. It doesn't have to be precisely the same. The price swings, here, you also had a drop, and then there was another drop and another drop. You do not see these right here. And so what you are looking for is generally a move above here by approximately, wait, we cannot say it like this, but it should be, how do I do that? How do I do that? Well, let's calculate it like this. So we agree that we are right here. So let's see. I'll delete this one for now. Let's find back the ETH price, the DXY price action. So we should be around here. And that's 52 days. So in 52 days, we should be above 4K on ETH.
Yeah.
If this keeps on playing out time-wise.
Yeah, I had it kind of towards the end of July.
Dude, that thing looks like it's about to capitulate, Jackus.
In 52
How about
days.
even just viewing it like a range, like 4K is your range high, 2200 is your range low, with the recent capitulation being just like a massive deviation,
Yeah, it's a massive range. It's what it is. This being the range highs, and we could say that this is sort of, the big range lows to me. And then we had a smaller range that was right here. That got deviated, but the big range sort of held, slightly traded below it here. It's totally fine. And now you've reclaimed this range.
Yeah.
And in 52 days, that leaves us half of July, and we should be above 4K, more or less. But again, I'm really not needing it to happen exactly like this. It can happen, slightly earlier, like a 1st of July, or it can happen, half of August. It's totally fine. But generally speaking, we should be up there in that time frame. Like, what I would not expect is us being there in early June. At the same time, I would not expect us to get there, by like November. I think that's too light. And the time frame to think is really like, really earliest of July to like maybe like the max I could extend would be probably end of September, but likely, we are looking in, I would say, in this time period.
Yeah.
You know what I think is pretty good confluence with that are, we've gotten some pretty good moves out of certain altcoin leaders, but I think they're getting ready for, some much more major outperformance than even what we've seen. I'm going to single out two, Hyperliquid and Fartcoin. It's kind of like the barometers of risk for the altcoin market. Probably a few more days of this vertical chop that we've seen, it's hard to even call it chop, right? Something like Hyperliquid, but Fartcoin specifically, has been incredibly choppy up here. I think you're probably priming. That's an asset that's priming for a very big move up. And I have to imagine it will probably be synced with whenever ETH comes out. Like if ETH is going to dip over the next week, right? Or like whenever the time period is. I have to imagine that you're going to see when ETH bounces back, that Fartcoin outperformance and probably price discovery finally begin, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that, Jackus, but
I feel good. Maybe one more thing, guys. What do you think about the time frame? Like, how much time do you guys think we have left
in the cycle or just like period?
in the cycle?
I have no idea. I think we have till at least the end of July, and beyond that, it's a little bit harder to speculate.
I know. Predicting the timing is really hard and nearly impossible, but I think I can find a good estimate. Maybe, and I know it will not be, the same, but I think it's food for a thought. Is that if we just did undergo our, sort of COVID, right? So you get the bear market, then sort of the, upside, downside, upside, and then you get the flush, and then you sort of start the recovery. What if we just got that, right? So we got like our bear market that was quicker than last time, so we took longer time in here, and then we had the upside, then we had the downside, then we had the upside again, and then the flush. So what if this flush was basically like COVID, and now we are just starting our recovery, right? What if we are currently, from the low, we are 48 days. What if we took that and said, hey, we are 48 days from, COVID low. And what if we still have 559 days in the cycle left? I think this is something nobody thinks is possible, because everyone thinks the cycle must be ending like tomorrow. What if? And we know how the second part was much more, tamed, because the real upside really happened until here. But there's been plenty of coins that's been pumping insanely well. Like, for example, Sol. If you look at Sol from past cycle, look how much it still moved in this second stage. Just saying. So what if that same upside, as we just discussed with this analogy, right? So again, you had a bear market. This one was quicker, so it took longer for this upside to play out. Then you had the first sell-off, the first test. You got the upside, everyone bulled up, ready for the alt season finally. This is how it was back then, by the way. Then you got the scare of absolutely everyone gives up on it.
And by the way, Jackus, I've looked at that. When you had the COVID drop there, you swept that prominent low, right?
Yeah.
Right there. Either that one or the one to the right before. Yeah, right there. And when we did that too, right? So like you take out that entire base, right, where people think the bottom is for sure in. sweep it, and then you're quickly back above it.
Exactly. You capitulate below. By the way, this is something I was discussing when we were at around 2.9K, that I think we need to see that capitulation down below these lows. And so you start the recovery, and we are 48 days into this recovery. People still, questioning. And so 559 days from here till the cycle top, that would take us into, Jesus, trading views doesn't even want to let me. That would take us into December 2026. Can you imagine that the bull market is really starting now? It wasn't until now, only for Bitcoin, and we basically will have a bull market till end of 2026.
That would
I
line up
think
with
this
the liquidity cycles as well.
interesting. I think this is something that lots of people do not expect. Any survivors in crypto? I think most people are so focused to call the top here. Everyone's looking like, how much months do we have left? Like 2 months, 3 months, maybe 120K, and that's it. Maybe people have it wrong. Just maybe.
Well, I tweeted something over the weekend, Jackus. I don't know if you saw it, but a
No.
mistake that so many people made in 2021 when they were trying to call the top, right? I mean, they didn't think it was the top, and they were ultimately left bag holding because they expected the cycle to end in similar fashion to what we saw in 2017 and 2018, right? Where you have a huge parabola, even down to the part where like we know what to expect from a Bitcoin into altcoin rotation, et cetera, et cetera. And 2021 top ended up being completely different from 2017 and 2018. But everybody who tried to over-index that cycle as a blueprint got left holding the bag. And I kind of feel like this cycle will be similar in the sense that, people are going to be trying to find comparisons to the 2021 top, of which, I want to say already, I think there are far more differences than similarities between this cycle and the 2021 QE ZERP cycle that we had 4 years ago. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're looking at this most recent cycle and over index it to try and accurately predict what the top is going to look like, you're probably going to be wrong.
I absolutely agree that we shouldn't look at it and be like, hey, right from here we have 560 days till cycle top, and then look at the exact same move. I don't think that is the right case, but I do think that we have probably longer than most people think right now. So I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I agree you shouldn't be looking at prior cycle to look and predict this one. At the same time, you want to ride this trend as long as it lasts, because it can last for a long time and truly switch people's mindset. And I would still think that most people's mindset, from like the zoomed out point of view, from the forest, not the trees look, is that people are looking for the cycle top to happen in like few months. People think, hey, we will get this alt rally, it will last 2-3 months, and that's it, and that's over. And so I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, where this is not happening, but nor is probably this 560 days. So I could even see it taking longer than that, prolonging potentially even into 2027. But I could also see it being quicker. And the thing is that we cannot see that far in the future. We do not know what will be happening by then. But we know that this chart's been accumulating for the past 5 years. And it's been... it is the leading index for all altcoins, basically. Like the whole space does good when ETH does good. That's the nature of it. And even though we can have outperformers in the middle, which is nice, but like talking broadly, right? That's how it is. And so I do think that, and we have, we do have US absolutely capitulating on crypto narrative. Like like your government is just dialing in, going all in, basically saying this will lead us. By the way, I'm not sure if you guys noticed it, but you guys have a huge problem with government bonds and the deficits.
Hmm.
And so first, what they wanted to do to tame that, they wanted to lower the deficits, but they realized that's really hard to do because you would have to fire lots of government people, even employ, like teachers and police officers and firemen and all of that. And so instead of tackling the deficits, what I think the government will want to do is just insanely grow the GDP, because it's not about how big the deficits are, it's about the ratio between the debt to GDP. And so you do not necessarily have to tame down debt, but you have to increase the GDP, and so the ratio grows down. And so I think they want to do it by investing massively into AI and digital assets. And I mean, Minister of Finance Bessent said this himself, that they want to, they going big on digital assets. They do not want to do it like the prior administrations, and they see a huge 2 trillion market that's going to come from stable coins, basically, or something along that line. So in that sense, I think again this cycle could prolong even further into 2027, because again, this accumulated energy for the past 5 years, that's not going away. That's way different from the prior cycle too. This one was really accumulation at the bottom and then the blast up. This one is accumulation this entire time. I don't view it, I view it as a very simple as it is, and I'm surprised most people don't see it. But this is a clear one with deviation down below and deviation up top. And when it breaks to the upside, the program will totally change. Once you break this, you're first never coming below, and second, you're going for a multi-year bull market. So I'm ready for something along this way, where we like pump a lot in a short period of time frame, and then it's a bear market again. But I'm also ready for some prolonged bull market of this type. I do not know which one will it be. I do not know what time frame it will take. But I just absolutely refuse that argument that we have just few months left and then it's over. I think that one is totally missing the point. Totally. I think.
Jack, what do you think about this conditioning that we've seen, which, by the way, has worked really well for those that have been conditioned over the past 2 years and have been actively trading it, to basically just sell every 2 months of upside, immediately fading it? It sounds like you're thinking that we're really about to begin the bull market. And
Yeah.
based on what you're saying and my own analysis, I've said this before, it seems to me like a lot of people that have been holding for over a year or 2 years are actually going to sell very, very early, too early, when the real move is just about to begin, most likely.
Well, that is a common joke that I make. Who is going to buy Bitcoin at 300, 400, 500K? The guy who sells it at 100K and FOMO's back in.
Yeah, he will.
That's the guy,
So someone needs to be that guy. Yeah,
It's going to be lots of guys
many guys.
who think they playing it smart by, they may even rode it from the ashes of the bear market and made nice gains. They will sell here. They will not see the forest. They will see it go without them. They will get absolutely anxious, and when they just simply cannot take it anymore, and that point will come, they will be piling back in and then ride it through the next bear market.
Tough to be that guy.
I mean, we had increase of about 2,000 wallets holding between 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin in this region in the past 6 months. These people are not buying to ride it for the next, month or two. That's the biggest accumulation or hoarding of Bitcoin since 2016, 17.
Yeah.
That's the bigger game lots of people are not playing. And so I can be locally here, thinking we get a pullback, of course, but that's just me, playing the everyday game. But my base case is this. So this is not the same, of course, but
that looks so similar. The basing structure right there.
Yeah. What will you do once sort of, and there are probably multiple ways to sort of draw this, doesn't matter. You are in this accumulation right now. You just had the scary drop. What lots of people don't get is that you can get this type of bull market after you leave it.
And we've never had that kind of bull market in crypto before. One that's more akin to like a legacy bull market that lasts multiple years and you just keep going up. Crypto goes in these very manic, cyclical bubbles.
Yeah.
It has forever. And people, I mean, certainly myself included, are probably not prepared or really prospecting something like this, which is, again, more akin to a legacy melt up and really more indicative of like a new technology being adopted globally, which if you look at the time, the x-axis there, the time on the Amazon fractal, that's what that was. That's what that kind of price action is the global adoption of a new technology being e-commerce, the internet, right?
Awesome.
So if crypto really is kind of on like the forefront of, if crypto is like that new technology, and we are in the very, very early innings of what's going to become global adoption, institutionalization of a new technology by world governments, banks, billionaires, all of them, that's what the price action is going to look like. If it's just a risk on barometer of, hey, this is leveraged IWM, and whenever there's liquidity, crypto is going to pump, then it's probably just going to look more like what it has in the past. But I think you probably ought to be prepared for the global adoption type of price action, right? Which is what happened with Amazon from 2010 onward, right? That's what happened with Microsoft and Apple and like Google, all these big tech companies. So we'll see. I mean, I hope it's like this is the beginning of like the global adoption cycle, right? But time will tell.
It absolutely is, Max. Like we discussed the tokenized real estate and real world assets, and that is coming, and that is going to ease absolutely everything and reduce so much fees that, as someone coming from real estate market know, that there's insane amounts of fees and time that's and stress that's needed transferring a real estate. And this goes with cars, this goes with anything. And imagine you suddenly are able to use this finance on the digital space where everything is very easily and transferable like this.
And how about even just stable coins? All the news we're seeing of stablecoin regulation.
Yeah, stablecoin regulation, big. And by the way, how about lending? How about digital lending like AVE?
Dude, if I could get a mortgage like via blockchain, oh man, dude, the mortgage process is so archaic, man. It is terrible.
Lots of people spoken about this. And at certain point, it sort of like becomes a meme where people are like, yeah, of course, I heard this a million times. It's never coming. It's been like the same with, internet companies. There's been people who said this, like, hey, everything's going to be on the internet. You will read your books over there and your newspaper. You will read it on your phone or whatever. And maybe, just screen back then, some people said, because phones were really not that that of a thing yet. But that's what happened. And lots of people also said, yeah, like we've been around and all of this new stuff doesn't generate any revenue, blah, blah, blah. But I can imagine how very easy it is to transfer everything on chain, on the internet through the blockchain. So I think it's going to come. I think it's only a matter of time. And I think when it happens, people will be lost in the trees and they will not see it happening. Like they mostly do not see happening the bull market in the middle,
Yeah, to your point, Jack, I want to touch on that real quick. If you look back in the 80s and the 90s, right, when the internet first became a thing, that's very much where crypto is now. Everybody is so skeptical of the adoption side of things. Like, how are we going to? People are like, how are you going to integrate crypto into anything? Where does it have product market fit? And if you look back at the 80s and the 90s with the internet and the kind of sandbox testing ground that it once was, starting out in any new technology, in any new market, in any new sector, it's takes time for that sector, for the individuals within the space, through experimenting, through creating projects, through think tanks and other forms and various measures of figuring out how to actually find that product market fit. And eventually it shapes and molds itself into something like it in the early 80s and 90s. If you were to ask anybody back at then and told them that, the majority of commerce is done through a computer, they would have laughed in your face. They said, what are you talking about? We need to go to the malls. We need to, see the physical, tangible good. We need to try it on. We need to actually be able to see it and feel it and touch it. Where nowadays, the majority of commerce is done online. People shop for clothes, for food now, for every single one of their goods through these online mechanisms. And crypto will very much evolve into something along those lines. And it takes time for those avenues to really form and shape and meld and find their products market fit. And the markets themselves are fluid and eventually will get there, through this experimentation, through these processes of, developers and new tech coming out and, finding out what works, what people want to utilize, what people want to speculate on, and what doesn't work, and what doesn't people don't want to speculate on, what people don't want to use, an integration. And eventually it's going to get to the point to where, we're very much positioned for it in the Because Bitcoin Discord with a few of our plays right now, like Keita and Kalat. But the various means on how you behave financially will be on blockchain in the future, whether or not you realize it or not. Like Max and Jackus had said, the real estate market, terribly inefficient, terribly archaic, right? A million loopholes. You have to deal with realtors, you have to deal with, sign all these documents, you need lawyers, you need all these processes that are largely inefficient. And through capitalist markets like crypto it's the most efficient capital market, because of the lack of regulation, and because that it allows for avenues to be streamlined and for processes to be streamlined much, much, much quicker. And that is why I truly think crypto is, if you look at how the internet evolved and behaved, it took decades for it to, evolve and behave into the manner in which it is nowadays, where crypto is that on crack, right? Crypto is that times 100, because the efficiency that we see through, the exponential growth within the ecosystem. And sure, we're starting to see regulation. There's eventually going to set boundaries on it, and that's only going to get us to where eventually the space wants to be. And people are like, oh, the Bitcoin maxis are like, oh, Bitcoin's the only thing that actually provides anything in the space. Well, the space is very, very, very young. If you asked people back in the day to use an email, they would have laughed at you. And now email is one of the largest forms of communications, from a business perspective. And people are like, oh, I'll just write letters back in the day. And, eventually turned into
Why would I
emails.
send an email when I could just write it out, drop it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and go down to the post office?
And
Why
wait
would I
weeks.
send an email?
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. And because that, I too think the real, price appreciation, the real repricing event to the large repricing event that I believe is going to that's going to happen in the space is going to be the integration, is going to be these projects getting integrated into current financial systems, and efficiency the efficiency and the systems that we have now become better, become more fluid. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
It does seem like the space is kind of, I feel like, separating into two different kind of classes, if that makes sense. Like, one, you're building the rails for TradFi to build on the blockchain, right? Your stablecoin payments, your RWA protocols are all trying to facilitate these things. And then I think the second part of that is, you have assets in crypto that are really trying. I mean, they're not, some of them aren't even trying. They're just kind of serving this purpose naturally, as non-sovereign storages of value, right? It's money outside the system. It's a hedge against capital that you can't necessarily take with you outside of the country, which is why, I think we see, guys like Don Jr. and Eric Trump say that crypto is a great hedge for real estate, right? I mean, you can't take you obviously own your real estate, but you can't take it with you if you were to have to leave the country. Crypto, I think, still provides that value, not just through Bitcoin, but also through, I think, some other proxies now, like Memecoins. Obviously, we can argue kind of which sector ETH falls under. I think it's kind of a little bit of both right now, looking for maybe a bit more of a, a formidable niche. But yeah, I mean, I think that's where crypto's headed. It's either, like specialization to help TradFi get onboarded the blockchain, or it's, just a non-sovereign storage of value. And I think there's some overlap there, but more or less, those are the two categories that we're increasingly seeing these assets fall.
I think maybe the confusion kind of starts where people are still not sure whether to call it crypto or digital assets. And I think crypto has this negative connotation to it. It started basically from its early days actually with Bitcoin, right? Because it was about cryptography and the cryptographic security defending the chain. But I think, or maybe you have noticed, and it's something I've been pointing out for like few years now, that even the officials stopped calling it cryptocurrencies to a big degree, or crypto, and they started to call it digital assets. Even Besant, on his recent interview, said that they are going big on digital assets. And people think like, whatever, but I think there is huge implications on this. First, they are trying to give it a totally new vibe. Digital assets sounds good. When you hear crypto, you feel scam, you don't feel as good. And when it comes to the actual tech, I also think it's that way, because the real cryptographic security is truly behind BTC, and there's the non-sovereign store of value. But when it will come to other crypto or digital assets, it will be way more about the decentralization of it. So like, you do not have a bank, but you have a decentralized protocol that's governed by lots of entities around the world that can constantly change and swap. And well, they will not happen constantly, but through the time. But the thing is, it's less about the cryptographic security as much lately, and more about like digital assets. And and they are putting big I'm not sure what's the right word for it, but like big weight on it, on that digital asset name.
I still have people in my real life who like they know I'm in crypto, they know I deal with the markets, and they come up to me and they're like, "How is this a currency? What are you gonna pay? What are you gonna pay with these currencies?" You know,
Yeah.
it's like they have no idea.
Yeah, no, I think this is a perfect example, Prometheus, because people view it that like everything is a like money or currency, or it's all like cryptocurrencies, and that creates the confusion. When you call it a digital asset, you no longer view it as something you will be paying with, right? Like you will not be paying with, lots of these, like you could transfer that value, but it's not like they'll be used for everyday settlements. And that's where probably the name digital asset also makes more sense.
Hey, Chef, I got a question for you. Now, earlier in the show, we had some Andy FUD. We had some Andy FUD in the chat. Now, you've put on an absolute clinic for us today. What an absolute treat. Absolute treat.
Thank you.
Would you be so kind to maybe just show us a little bit of Andy TA? Swap out that Amazon chart, maybe throw up a little Pepe, whatever you want to do. What do you think about Andy Bobandy, P5 Andy? Because there was some Andy FUD, and I don't take that lightly. And I know you as my friend, my partner, my colleague, I imagine you don't take that lightly either. Even if it doesn't mean as much to you, it's like it hurts me in my heart to see Andy FUD, especially when it's unwarranted. But I'd love to see a little Andy breakdown from you. What do you think about Andy?
I can do that, but very quickly, as I really gotta run. I don't have time for it right now. So I can do it quickly without enthusiasm, or I can do it tomorrow with a lot of enthusiasm. Up to you.
Let's do it super quickly, and then when you have to run, I'll take it over from there. So you get
Okay.
the ball rolling, and then I'll pick it up. Oh, you have a boys club saved. Oh my goodness. What? That's
It's as
something I don't
easy
even
as that.
have, Jack. So it looks like you spend some time thinking
Of
about this.
course. Of course. No, I mean
Super surprise. Look at this. Wow.
the most important thing from Boys Club is that it is behaving exactly as it should. That's what you wanted to see. They all topped at the same time, pretty much, and they went through the bear market. I know it's been hard, but that's ETH doing. But if ETH plays out what we have discussed, what you wanted to see from this upside is that they all behave as they should, which is the beta, and they will continue behaving like that in the future. So that's what I think happens. And if we just discuss that, maybe we get this type of pullback, maybe we don't. I think that we could, but that we are going to 4K in Q3 most likely. Well, then you can only imagine what that means for the boys club if it remained this this correlation. After people questioned it, I think it says it all.
So you believe the correlation is still perfectly intact?
I think yes, and that's where I'll end my cook session.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
really gotta run, guys. So good stream, and up to you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Chef. I'll finish that cook session. Thanks for getting us rolling.
Welcome.
All right, guys. So listen, it all comes down
Thank you, baby.
to Pepe, the king frog. Okay, the king frog. Now, until Pepe gives that all clear, Andy's not going to move. Wolf's not going to move. Brett's not going to move. When Pepe gives that all clear, the boys are going to be running. They're going to be running very, very quickly. So we've been over this, but we'll do it again. Okay. Okay. So there's your Pepe trend line. What we're going to do is we'll make Pepe all green. Okay. There's Pepe. Now let's throw up Andy. Now what we need to do is I don't know why TradingView has this error, but you need to multiply it by a gazillion to get it to show up appropriately on a new pane. We will change all of our coloring to the following. Andy, the golden dog. Okay, so there's Andy. And then from that same low, we'll draw a trend line. And then we're also going to throw up Wolf. Because why would I not? You know, why would I not? Okay. Throw in log. Throw up candles. Get rid of our borders. Change the wicks to black. We'll keep it beautiful. We'll make it purple. Okay. There's Wolf. This low. All the way through the high. Okay. So now what we'll do is we'll move them up onto the same pane. Just like this. Okay. All right. So guys, it is the same chart. That's it. It's not perfectly lined up, but it's pretty close. Okay. It's the same thing. We can go through and mark them all out. There's your low. There's your low. Low, 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 low. Andy didn't even hit that one, but there's your low. Pepe lost that trend line. Andy lost that trend line. Wolf is a baby. Didn't even exist over here like Andy and Pepe did. There's your low, low, low. Lost it. Double rejection. Rejection again from the downside. Underside retest. It's the same chart, guys. So someone said in the chat, Andy is dead. And I'm just curious where you're getting that information from, because to me it looks like if Pepe does this, flips that trend line and goes, then you're going to see Andy flip that trend line and go, and you're going to see Wolf flip that trend line and go, and we're all having a great time, right? And we're all having a great time. And here we could even do this. We could even do this. Move to new pane below, and then we'll move to new pane below. Let's take some percentage moves, right? Why would you consider holding Andy or Wolf when you could hold Pepe, right? Well, let's take the measured moves and see if it's a smart decision. Okay, let's draw a couple more trend lines first. It's literally the exact same. Maybe even just tighten that up to right there. Doesn't really matter. You get it. You get the point. Okay, same chart. Let's take some measured moves from the low. From the low to the high, 205% for Pepe. Andy from its low to its high went up 317. Wolf from its low to its high went up 340. Okay. So you're just holding a levered long spot on chain of Pepe. The charts look exactly how you'd expect them to look. All you're waiting for is Pepe to just flip that last level. That's it. All you need is just Pepe to flip this last level, this last Cheeto, this gray line. And then Andy's going to flip the gray line and Wolf's going to flip the gray line. And then suddenly everybody's going to be like, oh, Andy's so bullish. But, you know, right now it's like they don't understand what they're trading, right? That's all you're trading is just Pepe, right? And then we could even add on, you know, the additional confluence of ETH, right? Let's add on ETH into this mix. Because why not? You can see how it lines up with ETH. Let's see here. Make it ETH blue. It's really as simple as ETH, like definitively flipping this level. That's it. When ETH gets above this level, Pepe's getting above this level, Andy's getting above this level, Wolf's getting above this level. It's really quite simple. It's the same chart across the board, guys. It's the exact same thing. It's the same thing. Go back to like here even. Like, look at that. Do you see? Do we see? I mean, it's the same chart over and over and over again. We got ETH, Wolf, Andy, Pepe. See the trend lines? It's like all you need is ETH to do this. And then you get this. Then the boys rip. That's it. So to say Andy is dead actually just tells me that you don't really know what you're trading. And by the way, I don't mean that as a slight. I'm here to help you understand what you're holding and trading. That's all I'm doing.
Max here to help.
Max here to help. I'm the tour guide. That's it. I'm the boys club tour guide. I'm here to point out historical building. We're on a trolley ride, okay? I'm just pointing out historical buildings and fun facts. And hey, this celebrity visited the town on this day. You know, like I'm just your little tour guide. That's it. So all I'm trying to convey here is actually Andy's not dead. And for those of you that caught this whole Cook session from Jackass talking about where ETH could possibly go, it should get you really excited about what could happen with Pepe, Andy, Wolf, Brett, the boys. Should get you really excited. Because if we're talking about ETH above 4K, 5K, 10K this year, then it implies a 50 billion Pepe and a 5 billion Andy and a 3 to 5 billion Wolf and a probably 20 billion Brett or something like that, you know, if we can get those ETH figures. The correlations are not like little tiny, like, you know, little tiny, oh, we've been correlated for a week, or like sometimes the charts look the same. No, we have over a year's worth of data, both really bullish conditions, really bearish conditions, and the correlations have stood the test of time through really easy times and really hard times. And they remained intact, perfectly preserved the entire time. There is no comfier bags to hold, in my opinion, than the boys club if you want to make a bullish bet on ETH. It's really, really, really simple. And I've presented, this is not my opinion. I'm just showing you the correlations. So if you can look at these correlations here and go, oh no, actually the correlations are not valid, here's why, and you could actually show me, then we could have a discussion about it. But as a technician, as a trader and an investor, I look at these charts and I go, these are the most, like, this is one of the, if not the best, positively correlated, time-tested pair trade in the history of crypto and meme coins. The boys club trade will go down in the history of crypto as one of the best pair trades of all time. And I don't know if there will ever be another setup like this, where you have multiple tickers all part of a larger narrative in a meme coin craze when ETH is about to rip. So to say that one of them is dead doesn't really make sense. It doesn't make, it has no basis in reality. It has no technical grounds to argue off of. It's just simply, oh, I'm either down on the position or I'm over investing, can't handle the volatility, and mainly saying, I don't actually know what I'm holding. I don't understand how Andy or Wolf or Pepe or Brett moves. That's what saying one of them is cooked is to me. But I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just showing you the data. That's it. So here's the data. We're going to rip. Pepe is going to fly to 50 billion. The prophecy that I outlined 2 years ago on this YouTube channel. If you go back and you find the first Pepe video I ever did with like 500 views and you watch those old videos, the prophecy was outlined a long time ago. and I've done nothing but add to all of my bags. This is no hedge, guys. I'm all in. All right, I'm all in on this narrative, on this bet, on these correlations. So you can decide for yourself what you want to do. But when I present you with the data and the evidence, until you present me with data and evidence that suggests otherwise, we're going to fly. It's going to be fun. That's it. That's it.
Enough said.
Enough said.
All right, guys. Well, that takes us into the end of the show, guys. Let's do this. We're going to run a commercial. We're not going to pester you guys too much today. Definitely consider checking out the BB Terminal, guys. First link in the description below can take you there, or you just go bbterminal.com, guys. We have over 300 indicators, some exclusive to the BB Terminal and some custom proprietary scripts that you will also be able to access on your TradingView. We have 23 brand new custom proprietary TradingView scripts, guys. So if you are a BB Terminal user, you can navigate on your BB Terminal. You'll find a section where you can input your TradingView username and get access to 23 custom proprietary TradingView scripts that will upload instantly to your TradingView, guys. There is no better trading terminal or tool out there. We highly recommend that you guys check it out. Prices will be going up very soon. We're going to run a commercial about the BB Terminal, and then we will see you guys tomorrow for another episode of Market Check brought to you by BB. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully higher prices soon. And everybody take care.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal.